Welcome to the deep dive. This analysis is customized for you, and today we are jumping into a really crucial strategic subject, e-government. We'll be focusing specifically on the enablers, the barriers, and importantly, the core technologies that tend to define success or failure. We're definitely moving beyond just, putting a brochure online.
Indeed. And the material we're drawing on today comes directly from the specialized work of Professor Castellan Vraby on Strategie de e-governare. The mission here is pretty foundational, actually. It's to understand that e-government isn't just a tech project, not really. It's about the sustained use of digital technology to fundamentally transform public institutions, changing how they interact with citizens, with businesses.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core challenge, as I see it, is avoiding what we sometimes call an expensive website no one uses. That seems to be the trap. We need to get under the hood, understand the mechanics of making this change stick, right? So by the end of this deep dive, you should be able to look at a digital government project and hopefully immediately diagnose what's blocking progress, and also articulate the measurable benefits and really grasp the necessary technology building blocks needed to get genuine impact. Right. Let's start with what makes things work, the enablers. What are the key elements, sort of organizational, structural foundations that need to be there before we even start writing code?
Well, the single most critical organizational enabler, it's having a clear mandate and strategy. Absolutely crucial. You see, successful programs take those high-level national goals, maybe like those developed at institutions such as SNSPA, and translate them. They turn them into concrete, multi-year roadmaps. And the key difference is these roadmaps have defined measurable indicators.
Okay, so it's not just wishful thinking, it's planned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We actually see evidence from studies on Romanian municipalities. Progress correlates directly with having these structured, actionable roadmaps.
Yeah.
Without them, digital projects just become these isolated experiments. They don't connect.
So having the map is definitely better than just starting the journey, it sounds like. But once you do start, what makes the systems themselves effective? My gut feeling says it's about connection.
You're spot on. The second critical enabler is interoperability and process integration. It's huge. If one digital system can't talk to the next one, you basically just create a digital version of the old paper silo.
Right.
Real efficiency, the kind that makes a difference, that gets unlocked when systems integrate workflows.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take the Brav case. They set up an online technical dispatcher. Now, this thing didn't just, forward emails. It actually integrated various data sources like GIS, Geographic Information System data, petitioning systems to mobilize the right institution quickly, streamline the whole internal response.
Okay, that immediately brings up the people side of things. Because even the best roadmap, the most integrated system, it's going to fail if the staff aren't ready for it.
That's the third organizational factor. Skills. You absolutely need public servants who have both baseline digital literacy, think ECDL level fundamentals, perhaps all, and also those crucial role-specific skills. Things related to data security, workflow management, just using the new tools effectively. Digital transformation needs continuous learning. It's not a one-off training session.
And beyond the people and the processes, there's that underlying framework of trust, isn't there? We need to be sure that what we do online is, well, legally binding and safe.
Precisely. Legal and policy enablers are fundamental. You absolutely must have established trust frameworks. This means having the laws, the guidance covering electronic signatures, electronic seals, robust data protection regs, and auditable trails for every single transaction. If people don't believe an online application is legally valid or they worry their data isn't protected,
They'll just go back to the counter.
exactly. They'll default back to the physical counter and poof, there go your efficiency gains. It's the bedrock of what we call non-repudiation in the digital world.
Okay. We've pinpointed some key success factors, but that leads straight to the inevitable question. What reliably stalls progress? What gets in the way? If the benefits are so clear, why do we keep seeing digital reforms just freeze up?
The challenges are unfortunately quite predictable. The first one is that classic, the digital divide. If access is low, or skills are uneven across the population, or maybe just confidence in using technology is lacking, adoption stalls.
So what do? Wait.
No, the strategy isn't to wait for everyone to catch up. It's actually to rigorously design for first-time users, make things incredibly usable, and importantly, use assisted digital channels where staff can help citizens navigate the more complex services.
I see another common blocker too. It's the idea that digital just means publishing a static document online. I've heard this called the presence, not performance trap. Is that a fair way to describe those systems that, look nice but don't actually let you do anything, finish a task?
It captures the failure perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. These portals often just replicate old internal hierarchies instead of focusing on what the citizen actually needs to do.
Right.
Success isn't measured by how many people looked at a page. The focus has got to shift entirely to transactions. Can the citizen complete their task end to end? We have to measure completion rates, resolution times, not brochure readership.
Right. And if that shiny citizen-facing portal is just sitting on top of old, incompatible databases, then you've got siloed IT.
Siloed IT. Yeah, that's a death sentence for efficiency. Seriously. If data is submitted once by a citizen, it has to be manually typed in again by staff into 3 different back office systems. Well, you haven't saved any time at all. You've just shifted the burden around, haven't you? Those interoperability mechanisms, like the shared data routing we saw in the Broyoff dispatcher example, that's the only reliable way to cut out those internal handoffs and delays.
Okay, now here's where it gets really, really interesting for me. The Jevons paradox. The basic idea is that efficiency improvements actually spur usage, right? So in e-government, if you make a service better, faster, easier demand for it just multiplies. Requests, complaints, petitions, they surge.
That is the critical challenge of success. It really is. If you make filing a complaint easier, taking it from, say, 30 minutes down to 3 minutes, you might suddenly see 10 times the volume. So programs can't just plan for success. They have to plan for the results of that success, the exponential demand. This means proactively building scalable operations, integrating automation for tasks like classification, initial triage, routing, that sort of thing. That shift from manual processes to automated intake, that's the hidden, essential cost of actually succeeding with digital services.
Okay, so we know the blockers, we know the enablers, but why bother? Why tackle these really complex structural problems? What's the actual return here? The value proposition, as I see it from the material, breaks down into 4 clear areas: transparency, trust, efficiency, and costs.
Let's start with transparency. It's a fundamental public good you get from digitization. When processes move online, they automatically generate this crystal clear traceability. Who did what, when they did it, under which specific rule or policy. This inherent audit trail makes it exponentially easier to publish open data, explain decisions. It significantly fosters accountability.
The Broyoff case you mentioned, that seems like such a strong example of transparency by design. By making that online dispatcher public, issues weren't just resolved, they were visible. Mapped, time-stamped, progress was trackable by anyone. That kind of visibility must force cross-departmental collaboration, right? Because now everyone can see who's holding things up.
Absolutely. And that visibility is a direct driver of the next point: trust and responsiveness. Trust grows when services are usable, reliable, and demonstrably fair. And we're starting to see modern systems integrating AI support here, which is, well, fascinating.
Okay, AI assistance. How exactly does that fit into building trust? Isn't there a risk of, automation bias or things going wrong?
That's a really important point. And that's precisely why we view AI as an assistant not as an independent decision maker. By using AI for things like image or text analysis, it can rapidly classify incoming petitions, complex service requests, that kind of thing. This speeds up the triage process, answering what is this and where should it go,
Right.
which dramatically cuts the initial response time. Citizens see quicker action.
But with oversight.
Crucially, yes.
Yeah.
Continuous human oversight and clear appeal paths are non-negotiable. The assistant aids human judgment. It doesn't replace it.
Okay. Now, if we look at efficiency, the studies seem to confirm the benefit. Longitudinal analyses looking across, 103 municipalities according to the sources? They showed that moving from just web presence, those online brochures, to full transactions and integration, it really drops handling times and staff workloads significantly.
Yeah, and it's particularly stark in certain sectors. Think about e-health. Standardized e-health architectures, like the ones implemented in Austria, for example, they improve the continuity of care, reduce medical errors. And they do this not through heroic effort from staff, but by delivering the right patient data to the right clinician at the right moment, minimizing reliance on, fax machines or verbal handoffs.
Right. Okay, finally, costs and co-benefits. Direct savings seem like the easiest bit to track, replacing staff time on paper handling, less need for physical counter space, printing costs.
True, those are the obvious ones. But the avoided costs are often much more strategic in the long run. By rigorously building on open standards, things like e-signature frameworks, shared smart card infrastructures, robust API protocols, you avoid that expensive proprietary vendor lock-in. You avoid costly custom retrofits later. And furthermore, the co-benefits can actually extend well beyond the public administration itself. Think about sustainability. Digital operations can enable things like smart waste systems feeding into energy loops, generating biogas for public transport.
So you get environmental gains and cost recovery.
Exactly. Multiple benefits flowing from that initial digital investment. So if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, achieving these outcomes, the transparency, efficiency, cost avoidance, it really requires selecting and implementing the right core technology building blocks. We basically need 4 specific standards-based elements. Think of them as forming a foundational digital stack.
Okay, let's walk through them. Starting with the front door. The public web portals. That's for government to citizen, G2C, and government to business, G2B interactions, right? The main users. This has got to be the single, accessible digital front door.
And its design must be task-oriented. What that means is the information architecture the IA has to organize content by verbs. Apply for, pay, report. It shouldn't mirror the internal departmental structure, which confuses people. Portals need to facilitate genuine end-to-end transactions, let users start and finish their task completely online. And another key thing, performance transparency. Publish the data, resolution rates, service level agreement, SLA metrics, make them publicly available. Oh, and of course, portals must meet accessibility standards and be inherently mobile-first design. That's just table stakes now.
So under that accessible interface, the plumbing needs to be right. We need to treat digital services fundamentally as APIs, application programming interfaces, the code endpoints plus a user interface, UI layer on top.
That's exactly right. Which leads us nicely to the second block, identity and trust. This is supplied by electronic signatures and smart cards. These are absolutely necessary to complete those high-trust, legally valid transactions. They supply the identity proof, the authentication, and that crucial non-repudiation.
Okay, so this is the tech needed for critical stuff like licensing applications, maybe giving informed consent for e-health records, G2B contracting, that level of seriousness. And the implementation here, it has to rigorously align with national and, say, European frameworks like IDAS, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Alignment with standards is key for interoperability and legal certainty. And we have to make sure they offer multi-level assurance. A simple password plus maybe an OTP, a one-time password, might be fine for checking low-risk info. But for transferring property or signing a major contract, you need a qualified e-signature, which has the same legal weight as signing on paper. The system has to adapt security based on the transaction's risk.
Got it. Third essential element seems more operational. Online forms and workflow. We've got to move completely beyond static, printable PDF forms, right? It needs smart, guided forms. Things with built-in validation, maybe the ability to pre-fill data pulled securely from shared government registries.
Yes, pre-fill is a huge usability win. And this powers the core engine, workflow automation. This is the crucial bit that routes submissions automatically, tracks those SLA timers we mentioned, escalates exceptions if deadlines are slipping. That BRIOP dispatcher, again, automatically directing and tracking public reports, that's the blueprint for this kind of automated intake and routing.
And going back to the Jevons paradox, as demand surges when things get easier, this is where AI assistance becomes really essential, I suppose.
Precisely. AI assistance can dramatically speed up triage, figuring out what is this and who needs to handle it. And it really helps with workload forecasting, too. If volume looks like it's going to double next quarter, management needs that heads up now. But, and it's a big but, the rule remains constant. Always keep humans in the loop. For oversight, for judgment, especially when making final decisions.
Okay. Finally, the fourth block. We turn inward to the internal stuff, the intranet or internal portals, serving government to government, G2G, and government to employee, G2E, needs. This sounds like the quiet workhorse of e-government.
It really is. Digital transformation has to work on synchronized layers, internal and external. The internal portal standardizes how staff manage their work. Key features would include things like case inboxes with visible SLA timers to help prioritize, robust shared registries for citizen identity, addresses, and crucially for leadership, management dashboards, real-time reporting on throughput, backlog status, maybe even staff satisfaction. Because fundamentally, if the back office is still running on paper and spreadsheets, the fancy front-end portal will eventually just collapse under the strain. #conclusion and outro.
Okay, let's try to quickly synthesize this into an effective operating model then, it sounds like. Start by defining the top citizen tasks, not the internal work chart. Build that core service, spine, secure identity, smart forms, automated workflow, constant status updates for the user. Integrate the back office using that internal portal, and crucially publish the performance data to drive legitimacy and keep improving. Does that capture it?
That's a great summary. But there's one final thought, which is fascinating. Even the best technology stack, the cleverest workflow design, it's still not enough on its own. Comparative studies really highlight that the political and economic context, the underlying culture of a country, shapes how successful participatory e-government can actually be. Policies around open government, around media and information literacy, MIL, they're essential because ultimately, transparency and citizen skill are what underpin sustainable digital transformation. It's bigger than just the tech.
That's a really important point about the ecosystem it exists in. For those who want to dig even deeper into these practical foundations, more information can be found in the manual Elemento de e-Governar. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Smart-EDU Hub channel to stay connected with the electronic world today, which is necessary for all smart citizens. Also, do not forget that interesting links about today's discussion can be found in the description below. Stay smart, cute. Smart-EDU Hub.